definitely different, and I can at least say, you weren't the guinea pigs. I had a test group in March, and I was really happy, and I think most of the class was really happy with how things went. And if anything, I hope in some respects maybe to simplify a few things, because some of you may have heard me say, I really like Kit Woolsey's work, going back to his original book, Match Points, that was published like 1980 or early 80s, and then it was reprinted and kind of brought up to date a couple of years ago. Conceptually, Woolsey is, it's some really advanced thought, I think, about bidding. Sometimes he gets into things that I think are too esoteric. And I'm not the only one, because I'll bring these things to other trusted expert opinions and people who are in touch with a lot of the expert community, saying, I'm like, I read this in Woolsey's book, and I've never done that, and it seems really weird, and I'm definitely reluctant to teach that. Is this actually standard? And then expert standard, and then be told, no, Woolsey's just out there. So
if there's something in a coming up chapter that you think that applies, could you tell us beforehand, before we get our brain all muddled? And we could look at it, but we'll don't try to really master this.
It's more. It's just maybe on a couple of bidding sequences. It's stuff later in the book. I think I didn't mark it. I could probably find it if I needed to. So, so especially when we I know he gives you a couple pages here early in the book, which is sort of your convention card for the book, just because he wants to give you standards and I got an email from the group, or maybe it was from you, that was addressed to the whole group. So I just wanted to say, don't worry about that. I am not using examples that where if he gets into something that is just too muddy. Some of that stuff I've just kind of pushed aside. So
two-way check back. Is that?
So two-way check back is it's nice. It's two-way new minor forcing is what it is.
It's two.
The two-way check back is really just another name for two-way new minor forcing, and we may have an example in coming weeks where something like that would be useful, but you can probably get by without it. Generally, if you're not having a 2/1 auction, regular new minor forcing and fourth suit forcing will handle most of the sequences. So, but we'll get that. I mean, it's useful. I like it. I do play it with most of my partners. But so the upshot is, if something comes up, and happens to include a convention that you don't already know, we will alert it, if you will, during the lecture and explain what's going on. So don't worry if you don't play everything that he uses in his examples. And his convention card is pretty much it's a fairly standard, like if you went into not necessarily like a flight A event, but just a stratified pairs game at a regional tournament like what's coming up next month. A fairly filled out card, with like hitting on most of the major stuff, but not nuanced agreements on every little thing that might come up like you would find with some expert partnerships. So I preface this class and start off with just kind of a few comments and some goals about what we're doing today and the next 3 weeks. At risk of having everybody head for the door right now, this class is about thinking.
Lock the doors.
So,
Lock down.
if you are shocked and appalled to find out that you're going to have to think, yes, the door is right up there. But when I say that, what I really mean is we're going to look at a lot of situations where you may you want to consider breaking some rules and breaking some boundaries. And I actually had a not too terribly distant example of this. One of the classes that I did last summer at Metro, which if you all know Ellie Larson over at Metro, Ellie attended some of those classes. She sat in on several of them. And I did a class about I think it's the cardinal sins of bridge, which is one of my favorite fun classes. And so we talked about how you don't preempt and bid again. And so not too long after that class, I was playing on a Saturday afternoon over at Metro, and I opened 2 hearts. And it went pass, pass, and Ellie was my opponent, and in the balancing seat bid 2 spades. And I said 3 clubs. And she said, "You can't do that." I said, "Well, I just did it." And she said, "No, I was in your class. You said you can't preempt and bid." You said, absolutely clearly. I heard it. You said you cannot preempt and bid again. I said, "You're right. I did say that." And I just broke the rule. And then fortunately my partner Spencer stepped in and said, "Well, he's learning some bad habits from you." What was going on here? I normally, and usually when I talk about preempting and bidding again, we're normally talking about preempting and bidding your own suit again. Now this was a strange example. I was 6'5". It was a good 9-point hand. I did not feel like I should open 1 heart. But I had the ace of hearts, and I had like king, queen, 10, 5th of clubs on the side. It was 6'5". And my feeling was, this hand's got some shape. I don't want to pass. I don't want to open 1 heart and then have this be a misfit with partner and get in trouble because I opened a 9-point hand in first seat. But if I get the opportunity, I will show my second suit. And I knew that there might be a good chance to have that opportunity because I had a singleton spade. And so, if the opponents have the boss suit, they're probably going to get into the auction with it, right? So sure enough, 2 hearts, pass, 2 spades. I thought, well, I'll try 3 clubs. Partner doesn't have hearts. He would have given me a raise, even if it was just a, extend the preempt kind of raise. So I'm like, I'm always prepared to bid 3 clubs here on my own. I'll try this, and who knows, maybe find a better fit with the partner. The funny thing about the hand was we got to 5 clubs, and we had 12 tricks in clubs.
Wow.
On this hand. It wasn't the kind of hand that you would bet a slam on, but 12 tricks were available on the lie of the cards.
And what did Ellie say?
So, so the idea is that we might be able to find an exception to every rule, and we have to start with rules. And there are some rules that that you shouldn't ever break, and some that you should very rarely break. But if you never deviate, first of all, you're going to have some hands that aren't going to fit nicely into any set of rules, you need that structure when you start off. But if you strictly follow, and then of course the other thing we have all the formulas, right? Because everybody wants magic bullets, right? So people have become overly reliant on rule of 15, and rule of 17, and rule of 20, and losing trick count, law of total tricks, etc. These are all formulas, right? These are plug and play things that I'm afraid people that they turn off the brain. They don't think about the hand. They don't think about the context and all that. It's just they just start applying rules, often in the wrong places. If you strictly, I really believe that if that is how you play bridge, if you're only following rules and formulas and all that, and you're not thinking about each hand individually, you'll never consistently win, and you won't improve. And it's just a very basic example. And where applicable too, we would talk about whether you would do something differently at one format versus another. But let's figure for the most part that we're playing match points, and if there's something that would be specific. Yes, if you come late, you're in timeout back there.
Yeah.
There's room
Well, I've got good view and I can hear you.
Carol, there's room.
So take a look at these two hands and consider being responder with partner opening one note. And what I was going to say is, and just assume that we're just playing match points. If we come up against something that would be more applicable to like team play, we can, we'll mention that. So this hand on the left, your 4-3-3, you don't have a 4-card major, 8 high card points scattered across the 4 suits. And then take a look at the hand on the right, you actually only have 7 high card points, but you have 5 spades and 4 hearts. And I give you a couple of 10 nines in there for good measure. So partner opens 1 no trump. Do you invite with this hand? Because we told you in Bridge 101, if you have 8 or 9 points, it's invitational, right? Would you consider inviting with this hand? And I mean, of course, how we do these things, how you decide if you do decide you want to invite with the hand on the right, then we could say, well, how would you do that? Because in theory, a couple of paths you could take. You could transfer to spades and bid 2 no, but then you would probably lose the heart suit if you had a heart fit. You could start with Stamen and see what partner has to say. A partner might not expect a 5th spade, and then we'd have to figure out if we could still try to show that and what all of our agreements are. So
it's kind of a Smolin shape, but not enough points.
Smolin's game forcing. So good that you'd be thinking about that with the hand on the right, but you probably would want to have another king or queen over there to be thinking about forcing the game. So I will tell you, at match points, I pass this hand 100% of the time. I do not invite. That is a crappy 8 count. And even if you catch partner with 17, 3 no is not going to be the easiest proposition. So you may have the 25 points. So I'm willing to risk missing game once in a while because it's just going to be so hard to get tricks on this hand. But I understand a lot of people are going to invite with this hand because we told you if you had 8 points and partner opened a no trump, you should be inviting. Right? And what I find happens more often than 3 no makes with this kind of hand is that even if we stop at 2 no, we're already too high. Sometimes you're hard pressed to get 7 tricks, let alone 8. So, and the other thing is also, what I think about, what is your partner going to accept on? I mean, we said 3 no might be a challenge even if partner has the full 17. Is your partner inclined to accept game tries with a lot of those 16 counts on the no trump? Because we could very easily find ourselves in a 3-0 with 24 combined points, which, you know, in and of itself is not the worst thing in the world. But again, if partner doesn't have, you know, good spot cards or a 5-card suit over there or something like that, it just gets to be really hard to find your tricks. And so I find winning action at match points is just a pass. On the other hand, with the hand on the right, with only 7 points, but 5-4 in the majors, and those 10 nines, and my 7 points being an ace and a king, rather than scattered queen here, you know, queen there, jack there kind of thing, I find that hand on the right, we have a better shot at game if we can find a major suit fit. Now, of course, the risk you take when you invite with that hand on the right is sometimes partner has neither 3 spades nor 4 hearts, and now here you are in no trump, a level higher. Yeah, I mean, the cheapest, you know, if you start to bid and invite, then you're going at least a 2-0 probably, right? Most likely. And now you might not like the look of that if the hand's kind of a misfit, if partner, you know, if partner's hand is more oriented around the minors. So I'm not saying that there isn't some risk if you invite, but if you're going, the upshot is that I would rather see you invite with that major suit oriented hand on the right with 7 points than this totally flat hand with 8 points on the left.
Even if we gave the guy on the left some 10s and 9s?
You know, throw a couple 10s and 9s in there, and I would probably still invite. Yeah. So what have we arrived at? Figure this math. 7 is greater than 8. Sometimes. So now, this presents a good opportunity for you to talk about. So I think I know what auction I'd like to have with this hand on the right. While we have it up there, we might as well talk about it. I think what I'd like to do, if we're on the same page, is I'd like to start with Stamen. Now, partner bids 2 hearts or 2 spades, this is going to go much more smoothly, right? Because now you could raise 2 hearts to 3 hearts or 2 spades to 3 spades and let partner make the final decision. That's your invitational sequence. The trickier part comes when partner gives you a 2-diamond response to Stamen, right? Well, now you know you don't have a heart fit, but you could still have a 5-3 spade fit. Well, how would you express that? Well, you could bid 2 spades next, right? And that would have to show that your spades are longer and that you started with Stamen because you also had 4 hearts. The question is, when you bid 2 spades, are you bidding that to play? Are you doing this with a weaker hand, or is it lightly invitational? So how do you play that? It's a good thing to talk about in your partnerships. So, because you can do it either way. You can play it as more of a, okay, I had 5-4 and I took more of a, you know, if 2 spades is now to play, what you've essentially done is you've taken more of a garbage Stamen type approach to the hand, which you may not like because this hand is not garbage, right? But it's also, you know, just borderline on invitation. So yeah, it's not easy here because you're kind of threading the needle a little bit, but I kind of like 2 spades to be a light invitation. And then that way, if you're, you know, if you have 5 spades and 4 hearts, but your hand is really weak, you probably just transfer to spades and call it good and not worry about looking for a heart fit. That would be the trade-off, right? So.
When you start with Stamen, it's sort of saying I have 8 points, so they could.
Well, but if you remember from our discussion of garbage Stamen, that's an exception, right? Garbage Stamen, you can get away with being less than invitation.
No, I'm saying in this hand, not a garbage Stamen hand, that they could say, well, my partner has 8 points, he's got a long spade suit, how does that fit with what I have in my hand, kind of thing.
But, well, yeah, I mean, that's, yeah, opener's gonna wanna evaluate, and yeah, an opener at that stage, you know, may play you for about 8 points. That's fine, because we said we're essentially treating this hand like it's 8 points and we want to invite, so.
Now, you said with the 8 count on the left that you would definitely pass it in match points.
Mhm.
What about the distinction of whether IMPS is the team format, right?
At teams, I don't like it, but I would probably invite.
Okay.
Just because we're regularly in the habit, especially vulnerable, you know, the bonus that comes with, and the potential swing that comes at teams with making a vulnerable game. And I usually say the same thing when partner accepts the game trying to put the dummy down. I say, sorry, it's not that good, but you know, just in case it makes. Because that's what you do, you know, I mean, we bid games, you know, at teams, we bid games that, you know,
Teams-
that'll only make a third of the time,
Yeah.
if we're vulnerable,
Teams,
so.
you get a lot of points if you miss.
So the idea in giving you these hands, it's not, you know, this is, you know, the kind of thing that we're going to be thinking about. Want you to be employing judgment and creativity, and